Hello, and welcome back to Contemplative Living. In this podcast, we try to bring concepts, that help us to live a more contemplative, peaceful type of life. And, today's podcast is very appropriate heading into the holiday season. We're going to talk about giving and receiving, right? Spirit once said to me, picture at the center of your light-filled heart that there's a special gift that you were placed on this earth to give to the world. And we all have a special gift. We all have something that is inherently ours that we can share. Because really, the whole secret about giving and receiving is about sharing, right? Sharing ourselves. So let's get to it.
Welcome. Now creating a life of peace. This is Contemplative Living with David Bennett. Contemplations and reflections to help with spiritual living. This podcast is made possible by dharmatalks.com.
All right, so we're going to talk about giving and receiving, and let's just get right to it. It's, generosity is exactly what it sounds like, sharing what you have with others and with the world at large. The key here is sharing. So we don't have to share, we don't have to give away the household. We can just share ourselves, share a smile, share our kindness. Those are what I consider, some of the key elements of generosity. Is it kind? Is it gentle? Does it benefit? Is it a helping hand? Does it give someone what they need in the moment? So, it's not important who gives and who receives. What matters is what takes us beyond our separation. The world we live in is consumed with labels. And it's easy to get lost in the dichotomy of giving and receiving. We often find ourselves fixated on, who holds the power, who's the giver, and who's the receiver. But amidst this endless cycle, we miss the truth. We miss what truly matters. And what we miss is what lies beyond those roles of giver and receiver. So when we shift our focus from an individual's gain to a collective growth, that's when profound transformations can occur. It becomes less about who's the giver and who's the receiver, and more about the acts that bridge the gaps between us. In a rare moment like that, where selflessness prevails, the boundaries begin to disappear, they dissipate. And that's where unity emerges, unity grows. We're all interconnected. We're all interconnected threads in our world's tapestry. And each one of us possess those unique abilities to contribute and receive, just like Spirit shared with me. We all have that within us. And the beauty lies not in segregating ourselves into more givers or receivers, but to realize that both roles hold immense significance within our existence. So by embracing a mindset that transcends separation, we unlock a vast realm of possibilities. One where compassion knows no bounds and empathy becomes our guiding light. Yeah. This shift allows us to understand that true fulfillment arises not from amassing material possessions or recognition, but through fostering genuine connections with others. So if you want others to enjoy giving, then you have to take a turn at receiving too. This was a huge lesson for me. I have a friend, Doug, who was a friend that when I went through my stage 4 lung and bone cancer, I was in a bad way. I needed help. But Doug helped me to see that by allowing others to help me, then I was allowing them to give the gift of generosity. And so in that, by not allowing them to help me, I was being selfish. That was a huge lesson for me. I learned so much about giving and receiving in that time when I needed help the most. So the perfection of generosity breaks down the barriers between self and others. Generosity emerges as an unbelievably extraordinary force that possesses the power to dissolve barriers that separate us from one another. And it's in giving that we find ourselves stepping out of our own limited perspectives and embracing empathy and compassion toward others. Because generosity transcends mere material gifts. It encompasses acts of kindness, of understanding, and forgiveness. It's an invitation to open our hearts and extend our hands. Not only to loved ones, but also to strangers who may be enduring their own silent battle. When we choose generosity over selfishness, the walls begin to crumble, and they make way for connections that bridge the gaps between what may be seemingly individuals. And by offering what we can, whether it's resources or simply being a good listener and lending an ear, we create a ripple that reverberates far beyond ourselves. So go beyond clinging to our separateness and into an awareness that all is giving and receiving. We tend to live in an illusion of being separate individuals. And it is an illusion because we are all interconnected. And once we raise our awareness to that level of realizing that we are interconnected, then we see that transfer of energy, of giving and receiving is an ongoing process. And it's something that we can tap into to help ourselves be a better person. Our generosity is found everywhere. And it's everywhere when we give without distinguishing ourselves from others. In other words, realizing that interconnectedness that we have, and recognize that giving and taking is an exchange that we need. I do a lot of energetic healing. And in the process of doing a lot of energetic healing, I get to see how our physical body is constantly receiving and giving energy all the time. It's a natural process. And so generosity is one of the key principles to understanding that. And then receiving graciously. Allow the giver to see how appreciative we are, how heartfelt we feel when someone helps us, when someone is generous, when someone is kind. That's part of the principle. That's part of the principle of giving and receiving and generosity. Now, the power of generosity brings joy to the giver as well as the receiver. And generosity is the foundation for establishing an ethical lifestyle. This is one of the main precepts that the Buddha tried to teach us, that the power of generosity is a force that transcends boundaries. And it touches the lives of both the giver and the receiver, and it has an incredible ability to transform those who embrace it as a way of life. Generosity encompasses a mindset of compassion, empathy, and selflessness. And when we open our hearts and extend kindness towards others, we tap into something profound within ourselves. It's that innate desire to make a difference. It's a driving force for anyone who's lived a spiritual life, to make a difference, to be positive. And it's through acts of generosity that we establish an ethical lifestyle by prioritizing the needs of others above our own desires. We create a ripple effect that can transform our community. Generosity teaches us humility and fosters gratitude and genuine human connections based on trust and mutual respect. You don't realize how many branches that spread out with an act of generosity and the ripples that generosity can create. As givers, we have the privilege of witnessing firsthand how our actions impact someone's life in a positive way. You know, the sheer joy in their eyes, the heartfelt expressions of gratitude, a priceless reminder that even small gestures can make a world of difference and a difference in the world. So ultimately, generosity becomes more than just an act. It becomes woven into the fabric of who we are as individuals. And it helps us to shape our character and the influences of how we navigate through this complex world and to navigate it with integrity. So, generosity, giving and receiving, it's more than just the act. It's an integral way of communicating and being a part of the world. There's always energy exchanging back and forth. And that's where generosity and giving and receiving is key and vital to our being, to our well-being, and to the well-being of humanity and the world itself. It's a natural rhythm that we live in. And when we shut ourselves off from it, then we're not living fully. So I hope you have an amazing week. And I hope that your holidays are extra sweet. Namaste.
Thank you for listening today to Contemplative Living with David Bennett. Please be sure to subscribe, listen, and share with your friends wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and the Podbean app. You can find the links to these on David's website, dharmatalks.com, on the Contemplative Living page. Have a blessed week.